Let's talk about Call to Arms. I had a lot of people initially come to me when Call to Arms was first announced and kind of starting to be discussed, because I've spoken about like wanting scoreboards and leaderboards in the game, and how I was pretty underwhelmed with stuff like Guardian Games, where it's basically like, hey, if you just participate, like you'll basically get like a top percentage, and it didn't really feel like there was that much trying that you really need to do. So this time around, it seems like they were trying to take it a little more seriously with some of the score thresholds and this and that. So Call to Arms is essentially, we go to the portal here, we have the event called Call to Arms. There's a set bunch of activities that you can do, and you want to try and get the highest scores that you can in them to get more points. The higher your points, the more you can go down this reward track. There's a big emblem for getting 310 points, which is just like, top percentage in all of the different activities. Ignore Crucible because it's not working properly. What else is new? People want the helmet ornament. So like all of this stuff I think is cool. Like getting cosmetics from doing well in the game is cool. I like that. Conceptually, very much enjoy that because it's something that we really don't get that much of outside of maybe some emblems. I'm also just now noticing that this emblem, the circle, is not centered within the square. It is off to the left. Can we get a fix on that, please? That's going to drive me crazy now. Here, it's fine. In the box, it's off center. Hello? I guess technically if we line it up with the edge of this vine, the spacing between the edge of this vine and the spacing on the edge of the circle is centered, but you mainly see circle. Anyway, so I just came back from my break, and my attitude towards leveling was that I wasn't really going to be leveling super aggressively in Edge of Fate, because I was like, whatever, I'm just going to take it at my own pace, and I took a break, so I am not at max level. You can see a bunch of my scores. I ran with some friends who are max level, and we did pretty well, ran them quick, but the score thresholds for like a lot of these activities are in the high 2 million to low 3 million point like thresholds. And me just running with some of my friends with like a bunch of modifiers active, we're able to only go about this high because my level is 444. Right now it's 444. At the time it was like 430 and change. Now they have made leveling much easier to do since I have returned to the game. But my biggest problem, I think, with Call to Arms is that because I am not 500, because I don't have ultimate difficulty unlocked, and because everything is done through the portal, I basically have no chance in getting any of these higher tier rewards unless I hit 500. And that feels kind of bad because I just wanted to like participate in the event and just go in and be like, all right, let me put some really hard modifiers together and we'll go in and get a bunch of score. Because I'm not at the threshold to even hit 500, which is like bare minimum to even be competitive, to me, it just feels kind of bad that, it doesn't matter how good I am, I will not be able to hit the score thresholds because my level is not high enough because I didn't grind to get to 500. Now, I do think there is something nice about having a thing that like you have to be high level for, but for an activity like this, which is kind of meant to encourage people to come back and fill their inventory with these guys, the lawless vouchers, it feels kind of bad knowing that I cannot be competitive in this event whatsoever. I think the lawless vouchers are cool. So for anyone who like maybe hasn't been playing for a little while, Call to Arms is giving out lawless vouchers, which allow you to get gear from the next expansion early, or like, just give you a bunch of crates that give you new stuff from the expansion to kind of give you like a little bit of a boost. I think that's cool. I think that's neat. Like I got no problem with this, right? It gives you tier 3 or higher new gear, weapon, or armor. It gives you some cores. Then it gives you some chances for some prime engrams, which boost your level even higher. So if you haven't really been participating, this is a nice little way to get like a head start on some things. We also have the ability to attune to some weapons. There are no new weapons, as far as I know, in Call to Arms, but you can still attune to any one of these. These are all weapons that have come out from other events that have been going on, Arms Week and Heavy Metal and like whatever else has been going on over the past few months. So you can attune and go get those. We also have shiny versions. We actually even have tier 6 they have tier 6 gear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pips. There's something going on where if you get like a tier 5 drop and it becomes a shiny drop, it will get boosted into a tier 6. There's no performance difference as far as I know. I think it's just a funny visual glitch. But they do be dropping some tier 6 weapons. Get with the program. Streamer loot is real. That is my... Oh yeah, actually you do get more. You do actually get a bonus from new gear. Because your tier, like my energy slot is 12% instead of just being 10%, which is crazy that is built into the system like that, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, my thing with this is that until I hit 500, it feels kind of bad to participate with Call to Arms because it's all built into the portal. If this was maybe like set up as its own thing where like levels didn't really matter, then you might not have this problem. And I do think the event is good for like boosting people's levels. You can get a lot of levels doing this. That's been very, very nice. So it is possible to kind of grind your way up in the event in order to start participating, right? I've also seen some gripes about how you need to go about getting some of the high scores. And I think the main issue that people are having is, if we go over to customize here, in order to get truly the highest scores, you have to go over to player stakes, and this modifier needs to be changed to this one because this gives you the highest reward multiplier that is currently available, 5. Everything else is, you want to throw in all the 4s, as many 4s as you can, I imagine, to get as high score as possible. But this one is 5, so to really get the highest of high scores, you have to put on bow weapons only. And this applies for every one of the activities. And while I do think there is some amount of novelty in, having like it's bows only to get the highest score possible, I don't know if I'm really messing with that. I think having this be here, like it didn't matter if it was bows. It didn't matter if it was like auto rifles, whatever. Like it does make it harder. But I don't know if this was like the expectation of how to get the highest scores. And yeah, I can't access Ultimate yet, so there are a couple of other modifiers that are available. But this I think is the main one. Like when I ran it with my friends, they were like, we're going to throw in all the hard modifiers except for bows only. So that's kind of not the greatest. That's not the greatest feeling. So yeah, otherwise, conceptually, I like the idea of this event, but the fact that I don't feel like I can really participate with like the high score aspect until I'm bare minimum 500 feels kind of bad, which I understand feels like the opposite of the Guardian Games stuff, because Guardian Games, you didn't need any sort of specific level, but for some reason, it just didn't feel that exciting to compete in there. And I think that's maybe because we literally couldn't see like as well. Where are the scores? Here. Like we didn't have this little menu right here to like see your scores as like framed like this. I think it might've been like a part of like a UI thing. I know they started to drift in that direction with Guardian Games, but like this is nice for like a lot of the clarity to see like where you're really placing and all that kind of, like, I like how clear this is. So yeah, I think that's most of what I have to say on Call to Arms. I am going to be grinding to get my way to 500 as close as possible. Let's take some comments from the chat. Let me scroll and we'll have a talk. The Lou's there to encourage people. You only need to be top 30 on 2 activities to get high enough to get the helmet, which is what most people are going to want. That is fair. I still would like to be able to compete for this though, We kind of had this issue a very long time ago with Grandmasters, where because the level cap would increase so much, a lot of my friends who I knew were good enough, this was like pre like fire team power like grouping, by the way. I knew my friends were good enough, but they just didn't want to grind all the levels to get access to the activity. They just wanted to do the activity. So this is like, I know I'm good enough to like go for this, but the thing that's blocking me is the fact that I don't have the levels. Not saying F you if you don't have time. I don't think levels should really factor in the score. That being said, I don't think it's a terrible thing if there's a cosmetic that only the most dedicated player is going to have an easy time getting. I think that's fair. I think that is very fair. I have not been as... This is probably the least dedicated. I took the biggest break that I ever took from the game over the past month or so. I do think it is cool that people who are super dedicated have a chance to get a unique item in the form of like this being an event. Like if there was something just generically in the game, you know, the most dedicated people can go get, I think that's cool. When it's framed in the form of an event, like a 2-week event, that makes it feel a little bit worse because like I only have like a limited amount of time to grind. And if you don't have time to grind, then it's like, all right, GG on that. If the helmet or emblem are considered gold medals, why is everyone thinking they're supposed to get one? I don't think I'm supposed to get one. I would like the opportunity to compete for one. That is my thing. I know that I am good enough to compete for it because I did not grind to 550. I cannot even compete for it. That is where I'm having a bit of a less enjoyable time with the experience. I literally played with 2 people who were 550 yesterday. It still scales off of your power level. Feels like it's for top 1% grinders, not top 1% skill. That I would want this to be more of a skill thing more than a grinder thing, personally. That is my disconnect right now, right? I've been asking for leaderboards and scoring that like actually matters and, you know, all these kinds of things for a very long time. I was just hoping it would be more of a, like it is a skill expression, but it's a skill and grind expression. So like I have to be on the outside looking in for this one. I don't know if my attitude would be different if I was 550, but I don't think it would be. Like I would be like, okay, well, yeah, I can compete, but like I know that I have friends who like are very good at the game who will not be able to compete because they weren't playing. If they took away the requirement of level equals points boost, would that be better? Yeah, I just want everyone to be on the same playing field. I wouldn't want your power to matter in an activity or an event like this. I just want like everyone to be able to be like, everyone's on the same playing field. You can put all the super hard modifiers on there that you want. Your power level does not change your score. It's just truly going in there and doing the best that you can, regardless of whatever your power level is. Guardian Games was usually its own category of thing where you went into it and it was equal for everybody. That's what I was anticipating this to be like, where it's its own category of thing and you boot it up and there's all the modifiers that you can work with. And if you want the highest score, you got to put on all of them and then you go in and do it. And that's not how it was exactly executed. All I'm saying is that it feels bad to not be able to compete because I decided to take a break. And on certain things, I'm with you. Like, there are certain, like, you had to be there moments. Because my level is not 550, I'm not going to get the same multipliers, right? Because, like, that would be a good solution, right? Like, oh, you're not 550. You got some friends that are 550. They can pull you up. That would be, I'd be okay with that. Because at least, like, you mitigate some of that pain of, you know, not being the high level by just joining up with somebody who is high level and they pull you up. Still doesn't work like that. As soon as we're done here, as soon as we're done talking, I'm going back to grind levels. I will go get the levels, but it just feels bad to have to go grind levels and then I can compete. Because I still gotta get like 50 levels bare minimum. Shouldn't high level players have something to look forward to? It's like there's nothing else in the game that requires power. I don't know, an event that rewards higher levels feels like a good thing, good incentive. I'm with you to a degree. Like it does feel good. Like if I'm a 550 player, it does feel good to be like, all right, like a thing for me. I understand that. I'm just giving the other side of the argument. I mean, like, I'm not like super sad that I'm going to miss out on an emblem or anything. It's just like, it would be cool to, you know, go for the highest scores possible and see where I place like among my friends. Like if there was an actual leaderboard in here, like if we go over to here, call the arms, come here. I could like click on the coil and it just gives like a full list of like all the high scores possible. Like I'd want to compete on that list. That's fun. I like to do that kind of stuff. Or even just like against your friends or yeah, against your clan, right? I think I like to compete in those kinds of things. But like right now I have 20 points. I'm not even at the damn shader. Although, I mean, that's probably because the Crucible is not working properly. I'd probably be like right here as well with the Crucible, which would give me the other 5 points that I need to get to the thing. But okay. I did not try, like, I literally just ran salt mines. This is not I was actually trying score. This is just, I did one run and that was it. Yeah, I think that's all I gotta say on Call to Arms. I think it's a neat idea. I like score attack. I like score challenges. I would love to see leaderboards, but I would also love to see anyone being able to compete at any level. And if you're good enough, you can make it. Which again, I realize is like somewhat counter to my issues with Guardian games in the past, where it was like basically it felt like all you needed to do was play and you would be a top percentage. Although I don't know if that's just like participation based, because I don't think Guardian games required any sort of like there was no like level benefit for Guardian games, because like we didn't have that system in the game. So yeah, I do think it is a good first time event. I do like this kind of stuff. Maybe I'd be singing a different song if I was 550, but I still feel like, you know, this would be a very similar problem to something that we've had in the past with something like Grandmasters and, you know, my friends not wanting the level and this and that. Basically Calamity from Rising, but with no leaderboards and proper ranking. Yeah, man, I like Calamity. Although I also do have a problem with Calamity in that Calamity is also tied to your level in Destiny Rising. Like, you can only get so much score from Calamity until you just need to raise your level, and the only way to raise your level is also by grinding. So like that has its own kind of issue as well. That I get it, it's a mobile game, so it's gonna have like mobile game tendencies, but conceptually something like Calamity with all the leaderboards and stuff like that, I think is cool. So I would love to see that kind of worked its way over to Call to Arms.